Oh, Bhishma, I still regret the words that I spoke to Draupadi that day during the Dyut Sabha, during the Asat Sabha. I never meant to speak those words. Just to please Duryodhan, I speak those words and I regret I should have not spoken them. Who says this to whom, when, where? Well, ladies and gentlemen, these words are spoken by the son of Kunti, Karna, to none other than Bhishma Pitama himself. When Bhishma Pitama, on the 10th day of the Mahabharat war, Battle of Kurukshetra, he's lying down in the bed of arrows. Then Karna goes to pay his obeisances and he says this at the end. Now, what does this mean? That this means at certain times, when we are in certain situations, we are inspired or compelled, or you could use any terminology. We act in ways because the surrounding is such that we feel that's natural to act like that, which is actually not. We would have never acted that way if we were not sitting there with those people. Like in the Asad Sabha, in the Dyut Sabha, what was going on? Duryodhan, Dushasan, Shakuni, everybody were going on insulting the Pandavas. Yudhishthir Maharaj was losing one after the other. And at the end, he also lost himself. And after losing himself, he lost Draupadi, which was very unfortunate. And then we know what happened. Duryodhan summoned Draupadi through Pratikamin and she rejected to come. And then he told Dushasan that go and drag this Draupadi through her hair and bring her into this Raj Sabha. And from that day, this Sabha was known as Asat Sabha. Asat means something immoral, where things which are going on which should not go on ideally. Those things are going on. So this is something very similar. So now when that happened, what happened? Karna, he also said, he said a lady who has 5 husbands is a prostitute, and a prostitute has no man or samman. So therefore, it does not matter a prostitute has clothes in her body or not, or she's naked. She's anyways unworthy of any honor. So how does it make a difference? Karna said these words, and then what happens when Bhishma falls? He says, I regret, I lament, I should have not spoken them. Just to please Duryodhana, I spoke them. Can you believe it? Now, we saw what happened with Ranveer Allahbadia, aka Beer Biceps. Very, very, very successful YouTuber, one of the most successful YouTubers of all times in world history, not just India's history. And we saw he was so much into spirituality, into even he was learning, invited so many astrologers into his podcast. He invited so many people to talk on Shiva, on Krishna, on Ram, on Rama and Mahabharata, so many good personalities. And he also associated with them and he also did it genuinely. But what happened? When he went to this show, India's Got Latent, where every word is an abuse. Now, again, I will not go and discuss personally about one person, this person, that person, why that show is there, what should the government do, should there be sanctions on that show or whatever. That's a topic of some other day. But when you are in some kind of a situation where adharma is going on, where there are jokes being peddled one after the other, moment after moment, there is joke on sexuality, on your parents, on your mother especially. There's this girl, she said something about, anyways. So when these things keep happening back to back, 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 what happens is our intelligence stops functioning. We let our guards down. How many times has it happened that before somebody scammed you, you were going on and you saw the scammer. You didn't know, of course, that this person is a scammer, but you were a bit suspicious in the beginning, but then the scammer comes and starts talking to you nicely, sweetly, starts interacting with you for a long time, and then the person scams you. It has happened. It has happened with my parents, with our senior generation. Well, why that happens? Because when when we develop some kind of uh, connection, when we get some kind of pleasure while associating with somebody, then our intelligence goes down, because we act more at a emotional level, more at a mental level, rather than working at an intellectual level. Okay, so then what happens is, we cannot discriminate between what is good and bad. Okay, now the word discrimination has a very negative connotation these days. It is used in terms of racial discrimination. A better word could be discernment. Okay, it is like vivek. What is good, what is bad, what we should do, what we should not do. So we lose that. Like Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Sanjat sanjayate kama, kamat krodho vijayate. And then Krishna also goes and says, buddhi nashat pranashati, right? So when the memory is lost, the intelligence is gone. So what happens is, association is very contagious. That is why we should make sure that we do not put ourselves in situations where where the circumstances and the situation will put our intelligence down, because then, to be normal, you will have to put 10 times more the effort. Imagine you have problems with addiction, drinking, smoking, or watching pornography or something like that. Imagine you are sitting normally, you are doing your stuff, yeah, it's okay, you may be able to control. But imagine a smoker goes to a place where there are like five of his friends are smoking. Then what do you think? Is it easier to control there, or if the people are not there? Well, certainly yes, we know that, right? Because what happens is, when you want to do something like smoking, which is a wrong activity, and you see somebody smoking, then it sends you a message to your brain that, hey, Mr. So and so, it's okay to do it. You can do it. That's not wrong. So, therefore, if you sit with somebody who is smoking, then what happens is, you feel it's okay to smoke. That is why anybody who smokes or drinks, the first time when you did this, you felt guilty. But then gradually you kept on doing, kept on doing, kept on doing. And what happened? We lost our guilt, right? Why? Because the more you keep doing something, the more your brain feels it's okay. So if you sit in a place where people are showering all this, hammering your brain with all this, adult jokes, quote unquote dark humor, what happens is, you feel everything is normal. Having sex with the mother is fine, having sex with your father is also okay, having sex with your sister is fine, having sex with your daughter is also fine. You can have sex with anybody. No, you can have sex with your guru or guru's wife or whatever. It doesn't matter. Everything is fine, because the moment you keep hearing, your brain kind of internalizes it, and the brain thinks, yes, that's fine, that's normal, it's okay, it can be done. But that is not how a civilized society functions. Now, these things might sometimes be seen in animals. Okay, in animal kingdoms you might see all this incest, right? But in general, in human society, this is not advisable, and this will lead to destruction of entire human society. So therefore, regardless of who you are, your willpower is limited. I always tell this: your willpower is limited. It may be 100,000 million billion, whoever, whatever, but your willpower is limited. So when the willpower is limited, what happens? When you are in a situation where you need tremendous willpower, your by default, your willpower by default is finished, because the situation itself, it's like, you have willpower 1,000, but the environment is minus 1,000. So by default, your willpower is at zero. And at that time, if you expect that, oh, I will be able to control myself, I will not give into it, I will not, what do they say, go with the flow. Then it becomes next to impossible. Only if somebody is like, Paramahamsa, or a very, very great personality, only then that person can resist. Otherwise, for a normal person, it is not possible to control. It is impossible. So therefore, it is, there's a proverb, right? Prevention is better than cure, right? So rather than going there and thinking, oh, what should have I said, what should have I not said, best is not to go. Now, that event is over. He made a mistake, and everybody is human. Humans make mistake, although that mistake was very grave. But what we need to learn from that episode is that we might be doing similar things. Imagine, forget about Ranveer, forget about the people who crammed these jokes. Think for a moment. Think about those people who are sitting there and they were laughing at those jokes. Now, the people who were sitting in that show, the audience who were, clapping, yay, doing like this, most likely that is not the first time they have gone to that show or they have seen that show. This show has, millions of views. So what does this mean? It means these things are getting more and more normalized in our society, which is a symptom of Kali Yuga. Because when in Kali Yuga, the Srimad Bhagavatam says, right, Kali Yuga, 432,000 years and approx 5,000 years have passed when Sri Krishna left this world. And as Kali Yuga extends, it keeps getting worse and worse. So therefore, it is imperative that we understand that our willpower is limited. So if there is a situation where people are doing things which are not good, please do not go there. Otherwise, if you go there, it is very likely you will end up doing the same thing. Right? You will always see, even on the reverse end, on the other end also it is true. Like you will see people, they will sit and chant some mantras in their house, do some puja in their home. They'll do so many things in their home, but they won't transform much spiritually. But the moment they start going to a satsang program, to a spiritual community, then within 3 months, you will see 2 months, 3 months, they will give up smoking, drinking. They will start wearing dhoti, kurta, tilak. They will have shikha sometimes, they will become vegetarian. They will stop smoking, drinking. They will stop watching adult material in the internet. They'll become more disciplined. They'll become more structured, more centered. Why does that happen? It does not happen just because they're doing spiritual practices. It also happens because they have placed themselves in a place where other people are doing the same thing. So then, for the mind, for the brain, for the intellect, that feels normal. And whenever something feels normal, it is easier to do. Therefore, that is why when there is a normal person who has never visited a spiritual community, you tell that person, go and take a mala and chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It will be a nightmare for that person. Why? Because the person's brain believes that this is not normal, because the person does not value that. So therefore, if we want to improve our consciousness, we need to go to spiritual communities where we can elevate ourselves, right? So of course, the episode is done and dusted. It cannot be changed. But what I want to tell you is that thing happened once, and maybe it keeps happening always in that show. But here we are not bothered about the people who are doing the show and all that. The government, justice, law of karma, destiny will take care. That's not our job to sit and judge who did what, right? But ask yourself, do you do the same thing on Friday evenings? Because there was a lady from London, UK. She called me like it was a long time back, 3-4 years back, or maybe 2018, around that time, 18-19. Said that, Mr. Kalita, I have stopped watching your videos because you say don't take alcohol. And if I stop taking alcohol, my circle is finished because everybody is taking alcohol in my circle. So if I don't take alcohol, it means I need a new circle. So she said, I've stopped watching your videos for some time. But what is important is to understand that if you put yourself in a situation where adharma is normal, then you will also end up doing adharma. So please, prevention is better than cure. Do not go to places where you might be inspired to act in wrong ways. All right. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please. And for personalized horoscope consultations, you can go to my website down in the description section. God is there with you all the time. Just look to Him and you will find Him. Thank you so much. Please take care. Jai Siya Ram.